Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation on the Western Hemlock for FRST 132 Ecology class. A fun little dating profile write-up that encompasses the basic Silvix characteristics of the Western Hemlock. If you want to read it, please feel free to pause the video and enjoy. At the end of this presentation, I also have a screen recording of an actual Tinder profile I made for this tree, which was a lot of fun. All of the photos in this presentation are either my own or sent to me from a former work partner I had on North Vancouver Island from the beautiful Hemball Woods up there. And I did get a few photos from the internet and I have cited them. The Western Hemlock is one of the most common and important timber species in the Pacific Northwest. It's used for timber products. It's an important food source for local animals. It also holds significant importance in Indigenous culture. The products coming from Western Hemlock are listed on this slide: framing, trim, laminating stock, structural lumber, veneer, pulp. It is also an excellent firewood because it burns quite slowly and it is very abundant. An interesting fact about the Western Hemlock: its bark is rich in tannins, which was traditionally used by the Indigenous people for tanning their hides. Also in the springtime, new tips grow on the Western Hemlock branches, and these tips, as well as the bark, can be steeped into a tea to provide a source of vitamin C for immunity support, and in higher doses, it can be used as a poison. This tree is considered a medium to large size tree at maturity. It can grow up to 80 meters tall, and it is an evergreen conifer. At maturity, it has a narrow upper crown with a drooping leader, which gives it a very unique appearance. The wood is quite dense. It usually grows into long branches, and the bark at maturity is dark reddish brown. As it gets more into old growth, it does go gray, as you can see on the photo in this on the background. It goes a little more gray, and a lot of lichen grows on it. The bark is furrowed and scaled, and the leaves have white bands on the undersides. They're also quite flat, soft to the touch, compared to a Douglas fir or Sitka spruce. This slide talks about the reproductive process of Western hemlocks. They come to maturity at around 25 years of age. They have small seed and pollen cones. There's a large cone crop about every 4 years. And this process starts every year in the later spring. And the pollen is dispersed by the wind into the female seed cones, where the winged seeds, they're fertilized, then they are dispersed away from the tree down to the ground. The seeds take about 4 months to open, and that's when we'll see sprouts. The tree is quite shade tolerant and very tolerant of poor soils. It makes it pretty easy for it to reproduce and grow, and it grows quite slowly. And again, its branches and leaves will droop into maturity. The geographic range of this tree is basically the northwest coast of North America. It, at its northern point, is in southern Alaska. It goes all the way into northern California. You can also locate this tree in the interior of British Columbia. Roughly on this map, it shows that these trees run within the Rocky Mountain Trench, also into northern Idaho, and into far west Montana. The Western Hemlock is found in many different Beck zones in British Columbia. Predominantly, you'll find it in the CWH, the ICH, and the ESSF. Other zones it can be found in are the CDF, the IDF, submontane mountain hemlock zones, and subboreal spruce. In the mountain hemlock zone, it normally hybridizes with the mountain hemlock tree, and we will often find these hybrids in the lower areas of this Beck zone. It tolerates very poor to medium nutrient sites, as you can see on this edotopic grid that I've attached on this slide, and also requires fresh to very moist sites. Western hemlock is very tolerant of shade. It quite prefers it, and you will often see Western hemlock trees growing happily beneath the forest canopy for their entire life. I've got the tree associates and the plant associates listed on this slide. It's quite vast, and that is because this tree is found in many different Beck zones, and it'll be found with many different plant communities. Here I'll talk about some intolerances and damaging agents for the Western hemlock. It is unable to withstand fire, medium to large wind events, and also significant frost events for long periods of time. This is because it has thin bark and a shallow root system. It's also susceptible to butt rot and root rot due to the moist conditions that it enjoys living in. And the main insect that is damaging to this tree is the Western hemlock looper moth, as you can see in this photo that I got from the district of West Vancouver. It is not only an issue here, but an area of concern in many different Beck zones. This is the last slide of my presentation, and I have embedded a screen recording from an actual Tinder profile that I made for this tree. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks a lot for listening to